Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're taking a look at a short story by Arthur Machen in the collection that we've been doing a deep dive into, the 1895 short story called The Red Hand. Red Hand is interesting because it's the most unique Arthur Machen short story I have read thus far. So we're taking a little interesting look into it. Now, I have been doing a deep dive into this Penguin Classics collection that was published by the publishers over at Penguin. This is a 2011 collection, so it's published about 11 years ago. I initially picked up Arthur Machen when I was doing a deep dive into Lovecraft's influences after I graduated from college, and I had read a lot of things in the Cthulhu mythos and a lot of Lovecraft stuff during college. And so in the winter of 2005-2006. I picked up and read a collection of Arthur Machen's stuff published by Chaosium and had some fun with it. In fact, here it is. This is the collection that I've already read by Chaosium. And I knocked that out in the winter of 2005-2006. Had some fun with that. And then I haven't really touched Arthur Machen since then. He is somebody who was heavily read, heavily influential in the horror genre with people like Lovecraft and Howard and some other people that were writing in sort of the next generation. And he had a very famous collection called The Three Impostors, which was published right before this short story, The Red Hand, in 1895. And this is actually a sequel to it and includes some characters from that. Now, The Three Impostors puts him on the map in a major way. He actually had to edit it a few times, pull out some words like entrails from the final story. It's an episodic collection with a central point that it all comes to and gets brought into. Some of the things, although it was published with the intent for it to be a central story, many of the short stories have been published in other things. And again, now we're taking a deep dive into Arthur Machen for this channel. I wanted to go back and reread a short story collection by him. I'll link you to this collection below in case you're also interested in following it along with me. I'll also link you, I'll try to find for free somewhere like Project Gutenberg or something like that, since an 1895 short story that was written as a sequel to The Three Impostors is definitely something worth reading online in case you don't have the money to actually buy money. So I no judgment here. Or you could probably download it on an e-reader too and read on like a Kindle or something like that. So there's a lot of ways to read this. That I'll give you. I'm sure somebody by now has probably read the Red Hand orally, so you can just listen to it on like YouTube channel or something like that. Anyway, the thing that makes this so unique, I'm going to be giving it a 7 out of 10. It's between a 7 and an 8, probably like a 7.3 or 7.4, but I'm rounding it down to a 7. The reason why it is so unique is that because it does have some horror elements to it here and there, but really this is a murder mystery short story. There's a murder that is committed that our two key main characters are going to try to figure out, and they'll solve the murder. And that's it. That's the key parts of the short story. A doctor is going to die on the streets. He is killed by this ancient, mysterious stone adze, which is a tool that was used. It appears to be thousands and thousands of years old. These are the sorts of tools that are recently found up in like ancestral digs and that sort of a thing, and donated to museums. But what really draws their attention is that there is a red hand that is drawn with red chalk. It's a hand that's drawn for chalk, and it's in a symbol of an ancient symbol that hasn't been seen in a long time and is now only used in Italy in a few places. So that's where the story, the name The Red Hand comes from. This red hand in chalk that they see near the body. And then then they got to piece together what actually happened, who killed this person, and that sort of a thing. So it's a murder mystery with some horror elements to it, so it certainly blends those two. But I'd say it's probably more like 2/3 murder mystery, maybe 1/3 horror, and that might be a little bit too horror heavy. It might be if you read it and said it's more like 3/4 murder mystery and 1/4 horror, 80%, 20%. I wouldn't argue with you. I might be a little too generous on the horror side there, but you get the idea. It's definitely more murder mystery than it is horror. to you. But so it's very interesting because all the other Arthur Machen is one of the most influential horror short story writers of all time, right? Three Imposters, which this is a sequel to, for example, was heavily influential on a lot of people that came in the next generations, and was heavily anthologized. The Red Hand, I did some research on it, was also heavily read during its time, and also was heavily anthologized. It was actually one of the more warmly received short stories by Arthur Machen. Arthur Machen is writing during the Victorian era in Victorian, the UK, and a lot of his stuff that he's writing is sort of against the sort of styles of the day. His stuff is very visceral, and very much anti-Victorian, so it's not warmly received. And The Three Imposters, which this is a sequel to, also was not warmly received for two major critics. The first one is the one I just mentioned, and the second one is that it was overly Stevensonian, which he actually probably agreed with, and he actually will write some stuff and say, yeah, that's probably a fair critique. It probably was overly Robert Louis Stevenson-like. So that's another criticism that he had too. But anyway, of the thing that this is a sequel to. This includes characters and still having some similar conversations. It also has the same central conflict that is in every single Arthur Machen short story I've ever read. And that central conflict is the spiritualism versus materialism central conflict. Arthur Machen is a dyed-in-the-wool spiritualist. He believes that things that happen that are not able to be defined by the five senses that we have, whether that is telepathy and things from and mind powers, or whether that's ghosts, or whether that's fairies actually existing, or whatever the individual take is of that, or whether or not we have a soul, whatever your individual take is of that spiritualist view. Arthur Machen is a dyed-in-the-wool spiritualist, and everything that he writes is a conversation between spiritualists and materialists. And in this short story, we have two main characters, again, coming back from The Three Imposters. One is a materialist, one is a spiritualist, and they have conversations about spiritualism, and we'll find out at the end, spiritualism was correct, once again. That is the key point, that there is a truth to the matter of these myths, of these legends, of these characters, of these things that are happening, right? That there is a truth to the matter, and that this truth to the matter is that something actually happens, something is actually, and spiritualism is correct. Now, the most common view during this time is materialistic. The idea that there's nothing beyond this world. And nothing, we don't have any extrasensory powers, we don't have a sixth sense, right? There's nothing beyond what we can observe and write down, and so forth. So that is the materialist view. And this was very, very common during Victorian era. During this time, and a lot of people who are spiritualists are sort of thought of as just bumbling peasants, right? People who just don't think. But there are the occasional people that are educated, and a great example is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, writer of the Sherlock Holmes stuff, who's also dyed-in-the-wool spiritualist, and very, very famously will endorse spiritualism in things like papers and letters to papers and that sort of thing. And articles, and actually write about that in a few places too. So he's also a dyed-in-the-wool spiritualist, just like Arthur Machen, and they are definitely people that get along and see a lot of the same things. But there you are, and that central conflict is still here in this murder mystery with a horse with horror elements to it, The Red Hand. So I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read The Red Hand? What'd you think of it? Did you agree or disagree with my take? Do you think it's better than a 7-ish out of 10? Do you think it's worse? What do you think of the plots? I try to keep these reviews spoiler free. I only gave you the first couple of pages. And basic sort of concepts of the short story, so that way you're not spoiled. But if there's something in the spoilers you want to talk about, I would be more than happy to talk with you further about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, why not hit that subscribe button? There's going to be a lot more of these to follow. And then finally, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.